All right, I hit the button. Ready? Welcome back to Village G, episode 2. And the Detroit Lions lose in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. What are our 45-31 final? What's our thoughts? We are now almost a week and a half. No, yeah, basically a week and a half removed from the game. What's our thoughts? What are we stewing on?
I mean, just sadness. Going from 15-2, obviously a great year with all the injuries we had. It's just still some heartbreak. I think we all, I want to say we all predicted a double-digit win.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty brutal in the fact that we played our worst possible game of the year at the biggest moment of the time of the year. Kind of just sucked. Kind of summed up Detroit sports for the last 10 years for us.
I mean, I'm just kind of glad that we didn't instantly record because there would have been some very heinous things that would have been said. There were some heinous things said among us off the camera, but I mean, yeah, it was as bad as it possibly could have gone. It couldn't. There wasn't a scenario where it could have gone any worse. Like it went as bad as it possibly could have. And people want to say the injuries that caught up to us or whatever, but I was just, if we just don't turn the ball over 5 times, then it doesn't matter, But the fact that it happened to the team it happened to with Jaden, he's a rookie quarterback, but he's obviously more than that. But with the way it happened, it just couldn't have gone worse.
Yeah. I think this was the first year where like last year, the year before, we were like, yeah, they're really good, but it just felt like that secondary last year wasn't good enough when they played the 49ers. But this year it was like, man, this is the year. And it was so devastating just to not even get a single playoff win. It hurt.
Yeah, I would say like my thing is like, yes, optimistic for the future still 100%. Obviously the team's going to be reloaded and ready to go. As far as getting guys back healthy, and obviously we're going to make additions in the offseason through free agency, and we know what Brad Holmes can do in the draft, but you don't want to get to the point now where you're just saying, all right, next year's going to be the year, right? Because like how many times is next year going to be the year before it's too late and, things have moved on. I'm not big into like window talk. I know everyone wants to talk about that right now in sports media, but this team's going to be good for a long time. And so I wouldn't be necessarily worried about the window, but as far as where we're at with some salary stuff and just the talent on the roster and the ages of that talent, as far as being a front runner goes, next year is going to have to be a year full of even higher expectations than we had this year, right? And we're just probably rolling through it, hoping for no injuries. And obviously, you got to play good enough ball to get into the playoffs. But I mean, the regular season, for me at least, feels completely meaningless as far as what happens. And obviously, it'll be fun. There's some fun games on the schedule. Division games will be good. Facing the Bears with Ben Johnson would be good, but I want to be back in the playoffs. I want to skip to the part next year where we're in the playoffs and then try this thing over again. But it felt like a real life nightmare watching that game and just thinking it couldn't possibly get worse and worse and worse. And then there we were, and the clock struck 0, and that was that. So I would just say, kind of where's our thoughts as we kind of move towards the off season now of, we can start with the big guns with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn leaving. What kind of impact do we see that having on the roster? And then obviously, on what the play is going to look like next year.
Yeah, I think, obviously kudos to Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. They both obviously deserve a head coaching job. There was no debate about that. They both deserved it. Does it sting that he kind of went to the Bears, the way he kind of left that last game. Yeah, obviously that sucks. It feels kind of like betrayal. And a lot of Lions fans were on Twitter, talking how much, they hate Ben Johnson now and all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, I don't want them to go to the playoffs. I'm not wishing them any luck or anything like that. But I do just look back at that Washington game, and I look back to that 3rd and 1 empty set, and I think that's where the game completely lost. Like, you turn that game around. Gibbs had 5 carries for 60 yards already?
Yeah,
And
he was
it's
Yeah, he
averaging
took us all the way down the
like
field by
9.
himself on that drive.
Yeah,
He
and
was
so
averaging
on that
like
drive
9
alone.
yards.
you go down there, you score touchdowns 14-3. It's basically what the Eagles did. They went down there and it was 14-3 like that, and the game was kind of Jaden trying to make plays, and which Jaden did. Credit to him. They're very good and they made plays, but Ben Johnson kind of going empty there is obviously not going to have good feeling for the Lions fans, and I know that's going to kind of stay with all of us, and it's kind of where the game changed. But kudos to them for getting that head coaching job they deserved. But I mean, it does kind of suck the way that they left and how things ended for us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we go up 14-3 there in that 3rd and 1 set when we're in the red zone, I mean, you could see I think what the Eagles did to Washington is exactly how our game would have played out, right? We go up 14-3 there, and then our defense can play ahead, right? They can play with the pass. They can play aggressively like they want to, and still with knowing that they have the lead. And the way our offense was rolling minus the turnovers, it's just like, man, that was one that it just felt like, Goff fumbled. He got the pressure came up from behind him, but it's just like if we don't put them in that situation where Washington's only good spot in their defense really is their defensive line. Like they have some guys up there that can get after you. And we left everyone 1-on-1, and they brought 5 or 6, and it was too much. Goff couldn't get the ball out, and then he fumbles. Right, it could have just been completely avoided if you gave it to the back who just took you all the way down the field in like 4 or 5 carries. Right, you just give them 3rd and 1, you just keep pounding it. You go back to Montgomery games, whatever you need to do, and we get rolling from there. But I mean, now we are fully entered like the off season from hell, right? It's just like every coach, it seems like every day it was like, oh, now Ben's leaving, now AD's leaving, now AD's going to take this guy, now Ben's going to take this guy, which they've already started to do, right? So now it's just weathering that storm and figuring out what we're going to do after the Super Bowl and seeing what Brad's going to do for his free agents and where he's going to want to address with free agency and then where we're going to attack with the draft.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought we did a terrible job from a coaching standpoint of putting players in positions to succeed. I thought we put everybody in position to fail most of the time, especially with the 3rd and 1. You have the 2nd worst rush defense in the NFL. I mean, they are just horrendous against the rush. And we saw it the whole drive, as we were alluding to earlier. And you go empty. I mean, I don't care if you want to throw the ball or not. That's completely fine with me. I know we said J-Mo during the game was wide open, but you just can't do that because that gives guys like Bobby Wagner, veterans on the defense, and just anybody who's a basic football player, hey, they're going empty. They're not going to run the ball. Goff's not going to scramble. So you can basically just drop everybody back. And then another thing was giving Jameson Williams the ball on a trick play. I mean, you can sit here and laugh about it, but we all know how that kid is. He's a winner. He's a gamer. He wants to do everything that he can to help out this team. And so he's not going to throw the ball away. He's going to try and make a play. And I think somebody's got to sit down and talk with him. If they're going to run that play, I don't even think they should have put the ball in his hands when they're down. What was it at the time? 14.
Down 10. You're down 10 with 10 minutes left in the game. It's like it's the most gotta have it drive that we've had all season, and that's who we give the ball to in that situation and that type of play.
And he's electric with the ball in his hands because he can always make a big play, but it's on his feet, not with his, not him throwing the ball. And so
yeah, I don't think he was drafted because of his decision making.
Yeah, and then going to the AG side, I just thought we were awful adjusting our game plan. I wanted to see blitzes against Jaden Daniels, and the first half he carved us up against the blitz. And then we came out, and instead of throwing a new look at him, we just continued to blitz him. And it was like, we just went out with the same game plan, expecting him to switch something up and him make a mistake, and he didn't. And that's kudos to him. Brock, you said it. He is phenomenal. He's a rookie quarterback, but he doesn't play like a rookie. He plays like a vet. And he showed us exactly why when you don't make adjustments against a big-time quarterback, he's going to make you pay.
Yeah, and I think like the something that disappointed me the absolute most was the fact that we went down, and I think it was it 17 at one point, but just the level of panic that kind of spread throughout both sides of the ball, especially on offense, like how undisciplined we became, especially Goff, right? And I would say he shoulders a lot of the blame for what happened. The turnovers, 3 of them were straight up on him. Whatever the last one when you're down at the end of the game. So I mean, we had in reality 4 turnovers that mattered. But just the level of or the lack of execution from our end because we were down, and the complete move away from our game plan, that was definitely a big bummer. And I feel like I knew, and I feel like all Lions fans knew that we were in trouble just based on the way that, we were calling plays and executing plays on offense, that that the game was not going to be easy after that first fumble on the 3rd and 1 from the 17. So definitely less than ideal. But I would say kind of to pivot towards the full offseason talk. Obviously, you lose, Aaron Glenn to the Jets, Ben Johnson to the Bears. We were seeing Shep being promoted to the DC, and then it looks like John Morton, the Broncos pass game coordinator, who was also with us as on staff with the offense in 2022, looks like he's going to be our new OC. And so definitely, seemingly, a lot of good things been said, especially about Shep. So optimistic towards that. We can get our thoughts on those 2 guys, and then also kind of where exactly do we go now in the offseason? What are our priorities?
Yeah, I think obviously the DC hire was pretty easy. You knew you're going to kind of keep it in house. Aaron Glenn has kind of been molding Shepard into kind of that role because he knew he was going to be leaving pretty soon the way he was coaching. And, one thing I am a little concerned about is I hope we do switch it up a little bit. I know, Seth, you were kind of talking about that earlier before we got on here and how we're going to see a little bit of a different defense at times. And, we might go a little bit away from man-to-man, which I think in a way will help, our defense overall in the passing game, because you kind of saw it a little bit towards the end. We kind of started to get shredded up as, the year went on with injuries too. And then that OC hire, I'll be honest, I didn't – obviously it's not a hire yet, but I didn't know if I was going to like it right away. But after seeing, kind of where everyone's at with it and how he kind of was with the team earlier, kind of in a way shaped Ben Johnson into kind of how the way he runs his offense. I do feel good. Obviously, you're going to trust MCDC and Brad Holmes as well. And obviously Goff, Dan said it, I think, right after Ben left, like Goff is going to have 100% of the input on this hire. So if that's the guy that Goff wants, I'm going to trust him for that.
Yeah, I would say kind of just to move in real quick too. I guess it's a little pivot point, but there's been a lot of narrative talk and a lot of quarterback talk with the games this weekend, and obviously last weekend with both us and Baltimore going out. But I guess the question to be posed is, even after last week's game with Jared and how he performed, yes, we know Jared Goff can be successful and can execute at a very, very high level. But is he the guy that can help us win the Super Bowl? Not saying that he has to be the guy to carry us to that, right? With the way that the team constructed with the run game and what is going to be a high-powered defense next year as well. But is Jared Goff the guy that can win you the Super Bowl?
I do believe he can, right? And it's because of the situation that we're going to put him in, right? The one thing that Goff has proven over his career that he cannot do is be the Superman. Like take a Mahomes taking him down 13 seconds against Buffalo a couple years back and getting the points that he like. I don't think he's capable of that or of like coming back from the situation that we put ourselves in, right, with the 3 turnovers. But I think that as long as we control the pace of the game and the way the game goes, that he is more than capable of winning a Super Bowl. We've seen quarterbacks with far less talent than Jared Goff has win Super Bowls, right? And I think that the way that this offense is now running, right, whether it's the new OC or not, like I think it almost runs itself at this point, right? Like the guys are there, like we know who we're going to get the ball to, like it's Laporta, it's St. Brown, it's Gibbs, it's Monty, like it's all there. It doesn't have to be complicated. Like you got to stop us, right? So I think if we control the pace, control the time possession, right, aren't just out there throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game, like we're not going to win doing that. But if we play our game, right, and he leads us the way that he does at the line of scrimmage, right, you'll hear him with kill all the time, changing plays, calling audibles at line of scrimmage. Like he's one of the best in the league at that. He's one of the smartest QBs in the league, right? So him doing all he does for us at the line of scrimmage, checking us into different plays, making reads, like he is Super Bowl caliber in that aspect. What he can't do is, hey, spot him 14 points on turnovers and try to come back. I just don't think that's his MO. He hasn't proven to be able to do that. But like he's going to finish. He is a top 5 MVP this year. Like he's probably going to finish 5th, but he's a finalist. He's an MVP finalist, dude. Like you don't just luck yourself into that. Like that is something that has to be earned, and he proved it throughout the entire year. He's one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Right, his completion percentage is one of the highest in the history of the league in the regular season. So I think he can do it. I've believed in him all throughout the last couple of years, and I mean the question then becomes like who else, right? It's whether it's Goff or who else, right? I'm taking Goff over whoever else. It's just you're not running into it. We're not going to be picking a point to where we can run into a Jaden Daniels and who the hell else would rather have Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, like Sam Darnold, like the hodgepodge. Like no, we're going to stick with our guy. And Brad and Dan have told us that, and Brad said at his press conference, like he believes Goff's entering the prime, is still in and has time left in the prime of his career. He's only 30 years old, right? So I think he is. I do think that he is more than capable of leading us to Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a long ramble.
Oh, and it was well deserved. I mean, a lot of people, I saw people going after Goff and saying that, oh man, he was terrible this game. Yeah, but he was spectacular during the regular season. I mean, we were talking about him being MVP. That doesn't just happen. You don't just luck into being the top player who's up for that running. Now, obviously, he's not going to win it, but I mean, his game knowledge is just so smart, and I believe in him personally because you can call it cliche, whatever you want. He is what this team was. He was written off. He was kicked to the dirt, and he came in here and he completely changed everything. And he's been so phenomenal and is exactly what this city needs. And that's why I think he's the guy. Now, as we said, he's not Mahomes. He's not going to scramble outside the pocket and pick up some yards, but he's going to be able to make reads and he's going to deliver the ball. And he's got the weapons around him. He's got everything around him to succeed.
Yeah, and basically just kind of going off of that, like I'll be honest, like in that moment after the game, I was pissed. I was saying that, I don't know if Goff is going to have it, but like after looking back at it, like Goff's season that he had was unbelievable. He does everything we ask him to do. I know a lot of my buddies write Goff off saying he's never going to win the big game. Obviously his Super Bowl performance against the Patriots, right? 10-3, obviously, yeah. Terrible performance. But, like, it's not just on him. And, like, I know he's the vocal point of the offense. Every quarterback is going to take the blame no matter what. Like, no matter how the game ends up, you lose, you're taking the blame every single time. And so I'm looking back at this, and the only thing that he's not good at is he just can't play that Superman role of when we're down by a multiple possessions. He's not going to get it all back in one play, but he has shown last year against Dallas. We went down 7 against Dallas with a minute like 20 left. We went hurry up offense and went down the field and scored with Amon-Ra down at the end zone. That's when we went for 2 and we got screwed by the refs there. But like that shows Goff can come back. Dallas had a good defense. Dallas was doing good. Like it shows that Goff can play. He can come from behind. It's just when he tries to play that superhero ball, he just tries to do too much, and that's where it ends up hurting us.
That's it right there.
And at the end of the day, a lot of people end up doing that. You saw it last night with Josh Allen. Like at the beginning of the game, his nerves were kicking in. He was just throwing that ball up. Like it's a lot of people want to come in saying Goff isn't going to win the big game. Well, neither has Lamar. Neither has Josh Allen.
Nobody else has won anything. You got Stafford has got one, Burrow, and then you got
Mahomes and the refs.
That's it. Like nobody, like everyone wants to say can't win the big one. College, NFL, coaches, quarterbacks, whatever it may be. Like, dude, one team at the end of the year wins the freaking big one. Everyone else loses. Like
right now in the league, it's the one team is the same team every time, right? It's like the only person who's beaten him is Burrow. So,
yeah.
And then outside of Tom Brady, like Tom Brady's out. The only person in the league that has beaten him in a big game is Joe Burrow. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the biggest thing that Sean had with Goff is the reason why I think he struggles so much when we get down is because he feels like he has to be the one to drive us back into the game. Yeah. And that's where you start seeing him force the ball. They did to Tim Patrick when he had Laporta wide open, right? He gets the ball. Right, he makes a good read on J-Mo on the skinny post, but he underthrows it, right? If he just leaves the ball out in front of him, which he's done all year to him down the field, it's a wide open touchdown, right? But he presses, tries to put some zip on it, get it right on him, and Sanders still makes a great play. But you just see him try to force these balls that when we're rolling in our offense, when we're on script, when we're on pace, he's progressing through his reads. He's taking his checkdowns once he sees his first couple reads. We get the run game involved, and everything flows really, really nice. But when we have to just drop back and sling, he feels like even if the checkdowns are already there, he feels like he has to try to take the shot and get it all back at once. That's the only spot he's ever struggled in with us. Other than that, he's basically been flawless throughout his entire tenure in Detroit outside of the first year, the 3-13 year, which we can just honestly discard. But like since then, he's basically been almost perfect in every aspect that we've asked him to be.
And I think that's one of his weaknesses, like you were talking about, Brock. He puts so much pressure on himself, but I think that's also one of his strengths too. Because I think he works so hard, and I think this is going to be a huge offseason for him because it's going to leave a sour taste in his mouth. I mean, you could see him during the game. He was so pissed at himself, and I think he's just going to work even harder. But that's been his story all year long. I mean, go back to the Texans game. Throw 5 interceptions. He was not his best, and he came back in that second half, and quite arguably him along with the defense. It helps when your defense is playing that good, but played the best half of football that we've seen him play since he had the near perfect completion percentage. I mean, every single time he's made mistakes, he's came back except for that Washington game. And that's why I think he's going to be the guy next year. I think he's going to take it personal. I think he's going to go to work.
Yeah, he's not going to forget that hit that Louvu laid on him either.
Yeah.
He's not going to forget that. He's going to feel that way for a long time.
Definitely, Goff was playing concussed that whole second half. There's no way.
Didn't help.
That was straight helmet to helmet. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they probably would end up scoring anyways. But the fact that there was no flag there or any replay,
all that would have done is
even the broadcast said that. No, it would have took touchdown off the board.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have got the pick six. Yeah, you got the ball back on a personal foul.
They would have scored anyways. They would have had the ball.
It's just the fact that any Josh Allen or Mahomes.
Even the broadcast said that if Mahomes I think he said word for word. Who we have? We had in Burkhardt and them.
Brady.
It was Burkhardt and Brady.
Yeah,
They said
Tom Brady.
if Mahomes got hit like that, like someone would go to jail.
Yeah.
Like
league
that's on live
the league
television.
would cease to
Yeah,
exist.
it's so. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, that didn't affect the outcome of the game, but it was very funny to hear that just right on the broadcast, live television. Like everyone just knows it, which we'll get to it here in a little bit, but about Mahomes and the refs. But it's just funny to hear that out loud.
Yeah, I would say we can probably just save the offseason talk as far as the moves need to make and extensions and where we're. I mean, the draft is months away, so we'll have plenty of time to talk draft. But obviously, there's going to be some big names up for extension and a lot for Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell to plan for and talk about, and obviously getting the staff put together is number one, and then planning from there. But yeah, we can definitely talk the Super Bowl matchup now itself. Chiefs Eagles again. I mean, people are probably going to say that this is a great matchup and it's a rematch and from 22 and storylines and whatever and Mahomes. I'm not into it. I don't really care. I mean, of course I will be watching the game and but I could not care less about who wins the game and what happens and who plays well. I wish both teams could lose. I genuinely don't care. It'll be a bummer to watch because all I'll be thinking about is how we could have stacked up versus those teams. And, but honestly, probably hoping that Philly makes it happen rather than seeing Mahomes do that again. But I'm just so pessimistic towards it that it just drives me nuts. But thoughts on the Super Bowl matchup, kind of what we see, if you want to talk about, that kind of what's happened with the two teams and how they've gotten to this point, but kind of leave it open to you guys with where you want to take it. But like I said, I'm very, very disinterested.
Yeah, I mean, I would say kind of the same exact thing. Obviously, it sucks knowing that, that could have been us. I think that's you kind of hit on that point. Like that's what sucks more about it is just saying like we could have beat both teams, if healthy and how things were going, the way our offense has played the whole year. Like we could have easily beat both teams. And honestly, I'm going to say it. I hope the Chiefs win. I can't stand the Eagles. I don't want to see another NFC team win besides us. I don't like. It's just more of if an NFC team wins, if the Eagles wins, it's like, damn, like the Lions could have done that. Like it's more just like hurting us in a way of like that should have been us. And obviously I hate, Chiefs gonna get a three-peat, but like when you watch them play, they don't even look that good, but it's just like they don't make any mistakes. They don't like do anything wrong. I don't know how the hell Spagnuolo hasn't taken a head coaching job. Like that as a defensive coordinator, he's been there for 6 years, I think now, or a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Chris Jones did an interview after the game and said basically that as long as the NFL, the league, doesn't take him away as a head coach, that they're just going to win every year. And like he's not wrong. Like, so that's definitely been an interesting thing to see. But go ahead, keep going.
No, that was just kind of what I'm saying. Like the only person we've ever seen come into Arrowhead and win was Burrow. Like that's it. Like Burrow's the only one. And it sucks. I hope that it's high scoring so that it's at least fun to kind of watch a little bit of a high scoring game. It's
not going to be.
If it's a snooze fest, it's going to suck. The only person I'd root for the Eagles to win would be Saquon. It'd just be cool to see him kind of win. But besides that, it does just kind of suck.
Yeah, I think it was the worst possible matchup. Like it was a rematch of a game that we already saw. People said it was a fun Super Bowl. Like, what do you remember from the 22 Super Bowl? Sean, we were at your place watching it. The only thing I remember is the flag, the phantom flag that the Chiefs got the field goal on it. Even and Olsen, like the broadcast, it was like the most somber ending to a tone ending to a game because it was like, oh, and then on the flag, field goal, Chiefs win. Like it was boring. It was pathetic. Like the whole game that was a great game before that. No one remembers anything about the game except for how it ended with the flag, field goal, Chiefs win, right? So like that's what I have in my mind going into it, and it's like these are probably my outside of division rivals, which I might hate both these teams more than our division rivals, maybe besides the Vikings, but like I despise both of these teams. Like no one wants to see this cheap shit anymore. The Eagles, their fans are something else, right? It's just I saw a video of two Washington fans were just walking out by themselves, right? Weren't bothering anybody, weren't even talking to anybody. Eagles fans are just harassing them, assaulting them, they stole the hat off his head, they didn't even get it back, right? It's just like no one wants to see those scumbags win, right? It's and then obviously the Chiefs stuff. I mean, I'm so sick of it, right? The narratives. I'm so sick of everything. They brought us back on the broadcast after they won, and the first shot was Taylor Swift coming on the field. Like it's just is it even about football? Like do we even care about football, or is it just drama? Is it reality TV? If it's reality TV, is it rigged? Like what do we got going on here? I'm sick of the act. It is because they play such boring football. They played such boring. The Chiefs have played such boring football these past 2 years, right? It's never like, oh, people say, oh, Brady did the Patriots. It was the same way. It's like, no, they blew teams out all year long. Every year that Brady was there. Like the Chiefs scored 30 points for the first time all season in this game. They hadn't scored 30 yet. Every game they played was a one-score game. Obviously, this one was too. But like Brady teams, like they blew you the piss out. Like the Chiefs, it seemed like they're incapable of actually pulling away from a team, right? Because of whether it's the offense, I don't know how good the defense is, but it couldn't make for a more boring matchup out of all the outcomes we could have gotten. Basically, the entire playoffs. This is probably the one I didn't want to see. Right, we've already seen it. We pretty much know how it's going to go. Chiefs will probably have the ball late, have a chance to kick the field goal to win, and they'll win. Right? It's just like there's not going to be much more to it in my opinion. So yeah, I'm in the same thing with you, Brad. I mean, I'm gonna watch it. Obviously, I'm gonna watch every snap, but it's gonna be the biggest hate watch of the year for me.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm on the complete opposite side. I'm a defensive guy.
Ooh.
So I love what the Chiefs are doing defensively. The off-field stuff, I hate. I'm with you on that. But I love how they play the game on that side of the ball. I mean, they know exactly what you want to do and they take it away from you. And that's why I think they're going to win. I think they'll three-peat, and I think it's cuz they're going to take away Saquon Barkley. And after that, they're going to make Jalen Hurts beat them. And it's not going to be Jalen Hurts on the ground. It's going to be Jalen Hurts. We're going to make you throw the ball. And we'll have Trent McDuffie and everybody else out there ready. Nick Bolton's going to be flying down. And yeah, I'm a defensive guy, so that's why I like them. I hate the off-field stuff, but I think Andy Reid and how he manages that team. I mean, like we said, they make no mistakes at all, and they have fun playing the game too. I mean, Mahomes and Kelsey and Worthy is starting to play really good ball right now. The past couple weeks, he's been absolutely tearing it up, and I think that's just a testament to who Andy Reid's been for years. And he's a great coach, great offensive mastermind, and I think he just keeps them in check, and they just take care of the ball. I mean, hate them all you want, but they play the game how everybody wants to play. They want to take care of the ball, and they want to keep you to low points. But yeah, I mean, I like seeing points, but being a defensive guy, I like seeing teams that can hold you to under 20 almost every single game. So
Yeah, and that's like that's what this game is, and not to say that I don't care about the game because of the style of game. I'm sure once it gets going and all the pageantry gets going, it'll be cool. But this game is a defensive chess match. Both teams' defenses are going to have the massive upper hand on the offense they're going up against. I think Philly can really, really do some things to Kansas City. Kansas City still can't run the ball. And so if you're going to let those pass rushers from Philly go and let Jalen Carter continue to wreak havoc, which I don't think he will play as big of a factor in this game because where the Chiefs' bread and butter is right on that the middle of that offensive line with Trey Smith at right guard, Creed Humphrey at center, and Joe Tooney at left guard. Like those guys have been the very unsung heroes of this run for them. And I mean, they got nobodies at tackles. Everyone knows how bad Juwan Taylor is at tackle, but those three guys really, really, really hold it down in the middle. So and Spagnuolo is obviously going to have a plan to stop, especially Jalen Carter. But those edge rushers are gonna come ready to play, and hopefully it's not like Arizona where everyone's slipping all over the field. And that was definitely a huge factor in that game. But obviously everyone knows about the Eagles and their rookie defensive backs and Zach Bond, who's had a defensive player of the year type season. And then the two safeties, Blankenship and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They got dudes everywhere, man. They got dudes. And then Vic Fangio, he does some real fancy. He does a lot of disguising. It's a lot of cover 6, cover 8, cover 9. Like it's weird stuff. It's hard to maneuver. I'm sure Mahomes will be ready for it, but at the end of the day, they got to have those guys, Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Kelsey and Noah Gray continue to make plays for him, or they're going to have a hard time moving the ball. I anticipate they'll have a hard time moving the ball because they're going to be behind the sticks because they're not going to run the ball. And we'll have to see what happens with Philly, right? I mean, everyone said that someone's going to have the stop for Saquon, and they have just completely thrown that out the door and rammed it down people's throats. And so obviously if anybody can do it, it's the Chiefs. And yes, Spagnuolo obviously is great, and he's the mastermind. But I mean, the Chiefs they just got dudes up front, man. You got Chris Jones, who's the best player in his position in the NFL. You got Leo Chanel and Carl Aftis, who play the run and the pass. And then Nick Bolton, who's been quietly probably a top 3 linebacker in the league the last 3 years. And their corners play the run. McDuffie tackles. Justin Reed comes flying. He does some Brian Branch type of hitting where it's like, oh my God, like take care of yourself a little bit. But it's definitely a fascinating matchup. I just don't care for the storylines, and I'll be excited once the game turns on, but I'm not looking forward to the buildup of the next 2 weeks. And I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely removed myself from football and just, national sports media over the last week and a half. Definitely been great. So it's very annoying to continuously hear the headline and hear, all the Lions nonsense, but that's the name of the game when you lose and you get beat, right? So any closing thoughts on the Lions and the bad vibes before we move on to one of the other teams in town?
I will say my one takeaway from this is all the fair weather fans are starting to wither out, which is one right. Plus that I look at from this. I'm sick and tired of after they would win games. I'm sick and tired of everybody posting, "Oh, the Lions won." Guess what? You weren't here. You weren't here in the beginning. So guess what? We'll smell you out the door since they didn't win this year and you thought they were. Well, when they win next year, don't come crying and posting when they win and Jared Goff leads us to a Super Bowl. I don't want to hear you going off on Jared. I'll go find the receipts.
Like most of these people didn't even watch the beginning of the Dan Campbell era. They definitely didn't watch the Patricia era. And they sure as hell didn't watch any of the Stafford era with Schwartz or Caldwell or anything before that was just even worse, right? They didn't grow up watching that garbage like we did. We grew up and it was all of our aunts and uncles just laughing at the TV every Thanksgiving, same old Lions, right? Every time they played a primetime game, same old Lions, right? It was that way forever. And then Patricia came in and Quinn and tried to make us the Detroit Patriots, and it was as big of a joke as you could possibly imagine. And I mean, yeah, we are where we're at is because of the turnover and because of Sheila Hamp and because of Brad and Dan. And now I think we're back to where they want to be, the gritty, the salty, the villain, the shirts that they wear all the time at all their pressers. Like we were, even Dan said that, we were eating the caviar, right? We were just sucking it up at the top of the league, right? We were just taking in everybody's praise the entire time, right? And now we're kind of, we're not getting shoved under the rug, but like we're not on the pedestal that we were coming into this season and by the end of the regular season, right? We're going to be back where we want to be. No one's going to think we can get it done when it comes to the big game, and that's exactly where Dan's going to want these guys at. So,
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, two things that I was thinking about. One, just kind of looking at Panay. Hopefully everything's going okay with him. I don't know if you guys saw that video where his knee just looks like it literally snaps inward and looks like it tore. Obviously, he just got replaced by Taylor Decker for the Pro Bowl. So hopefully everything's just kind of good for him going into the offseason, and that big fella can get some rest. The dude's an absolute dog, and we're obviously going to need him for the rest of, his career. And so hopefully everything's going well. And the one thing that I am very happy about, don't get me wrong, our next year's schedule is beyond ridiculous. Like our away games.
It's a number one schedule. Yeah, it's a number one schedule.
But I think that's where we're going to live. I think this year, us like blowing out teams, and we didn't really have like that. Like obviously the Texans game was a close one. Is that it?
Buffalo at home when we lost.
Yeah, Buffalo and the Bucs. Like those 3 games were spread out throughout the year. But like I'm glad that we're going to get a little more kind of controversial kind of play in here as well. Like I think 7 out of our 8 road games are going to be against playoff teams. So I think just having that is going to, lead us up a lot better into the playoffs. We're going to have those tight games, get more of situational football. And obviously I think that can only lead to good things to come in the postseason as well.
I also think when Kansas City wins the Super Bowl that we're probably going to end up in Arrowhead with them because we have them as an away opponent, right? Or we do have them as a home.
No, we got them away.
If we have them as, I think, yeah, we will 100% be the home opener again, which is perfect, right? Hey, we get to go in Arrowhead just like we did a couple years ago and establish ourselves back in the mix, right? So that's if they win, you can go ahead and book it now. That will 100% happen. We will definitely be heading back into Arrowhead to start the season, which I will be very much looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to open up the season with the Chiefs. That would be.
I bet you.
I think we would wax them. I bet you we would wax them.
We might open up with the Eagles or the Chiefs. We both play them on the road.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see us.
We're the most team.
Or we could play Washington again too, like they did last year. We could see them. We could see us play Washington again, whether it's on that Thursday night opener or on Sunday Night Football. You best believe that the Lions will be prime time in week 1. They were the most watched team in the regular season again this year. So I mean we'll be right back into the mix. But to kind of pivot now, where we're at with the 2 other teams in town in season. Both of them really rolling at this point. I would say the Pistons more unexpected than the Red Wings. The Red Wings now, obviously, with moving on from Lalonde and have now went on a run and are starting to play pretty well and being right in the mix of back in the playoffs, where they belong. So, kind of thoughts on that and who have been the contributors and what's been the key to the team kind of, getting back into the fray. Obviously not where the Detroit Red Wings are expected to be. They're expected to compete for championships, but at least back into the mix. And you know what they say about hockey. As long as you get in the dance, you can win the whole freaking thing. So go ahead, Rollins, lead us here.
Yeah, so coming off a big win tonight against the Kings, they've been playing really good. They went on like, I forget what it was. Was it a 7-game win streak? And then they ended up dropping, I think, 3 in a row, and then they won a couple more. But I mean, tonight Lucas Raymond was just on fire. 3 assists, 1 goal. DeBrincat, shout out. Oh, can't see it, but goal 2. But yeah, they're flying around and playing really good right now. They went into the second period and ended up tied and ended up scoring with I think less than a minute left to go into the third period, and then just absolutely took over from there. But when they're just playing like they were last year. They're playing like they are loving each other. They know each other. They're trusting the coach and the game plan right now. I think he reduced their minutes that each starting lineup's been out because I've been seeing a lot of our guys playing a little bit less minutes, but that means we got fresh guys out there. So
Yeah.
It's been really good.
Yeah, and we're now 2 games out, or not 2 games, 2 points. So we're at 53 points. We're on a 3-game win streak right now. We're kind of chasing. It's gonna come down. It's gonna be a real good, fun stretch towards the end of the year. We kind of got the Canadians in front of us, the Blue Jackets, and then Lightning is that last wild card spot. I think, obviously Larkin is our captain. He's always going to get the love, but what Lucas Raymond has done this year is unreal. This is kind of his breakout year right now, and he's just balling. Like, I think if there's an MVP of the season right now, it is Lucas Raymond. He's been playing really good, but the one thing that's been killing us is our defense. That's what killed us last year as well. We turned the puck over too much. Tonight, Mo Sider scored on his own goal. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but that was a little embarrassing. But like Seth was kind of saying, dude, they're playing with a lot more fun. They're playing with, you kind of get that kind of younger kid out of yourself in those moments when you're having fun. And the coach has done a really good job. I don't know if they're going to get back to the playoffs. I think they kind of put themselves in a deep hole with how they kind of started at the beginning of the year, but you got to love to kind of see where they're at right now. And who knows, they go hot towards the end. Like the Tiger said, don't let them Red Wings get hot. All right.
Yeah. But no, and like we've said before, we're not the biggest hockey guys, but I'll tell you what, man, seeing the clips and the highlights of Red Wings games, man, like there may not be a better sporting event in the town than a freaking Red Wings game. Going to see a Red Wings win. Octopuses thrown onto the court, or just the reaction to the goals, and sold out crowds and just people going nuts. And it's because people care about the Red Wings. I mean, that's what you get when you're as storied of a franchise as they are. And so, and then I think that's starting to bleed a little bit more into the Pistons, right? I think we're starting to see some of that turnout, some of that support from the community and from the other teams, and starting to do some better numbers. And obviously everyone understands where the NBA's at and where the product's at, and that it's not the most desirable thing to watch right now. But as far as, our market, in Detroit, and the support that's happening from the city to the Pistons, I think it's been fantastic, and it's because they're playing well. And I think Cade Cunningham was officially announced an All-Star after today's game. So that's great for him. And he's starting to get some real national praise. He went on, I think he was on TNT, on their NBA pregame show, and just really starting to get some of that national love and attention that he deserves. And it's crazy the amount of the points and that he's been able to score, but also being able to facilitate and stack up those assists, and obviously sprinkling some rebounds as a 6'6" guard. But what he's doing right now, he's accomplishing without a real second threat, right? We have some shooters, we have some spacing, and obviously we're playing good defense, but we really don't have another guy that can go get a bucket. When push comes to shove, he's got to get in there and do it. And obviously they lose tonight to the Cavs. The Cavs are a wagon. They're playing really well, and man, they really got after us on defense and kind of exposed the fact that we didn't have another ball dominant type of scorer. But you can definitely see, kind of where the trend's going. We were talking a little bit about this before the show, but I'm really, really excited for Jaden Ivey to come back. I want to see what the team looks like with him again. And I think, it's really tough to make a decision on what is the right move forward before we see the rest of the season play out with Jaden back in the lineup. So, kind of what's our thoughts on that situation, on the upcoming deadline, and just kind of where they're at with their performance, any individual that you want to point out. But
Yeah, I would just say, obviously, Cade is an all-star. He's balling. What he's doing with our roster is pretty cool, man. Like he's bringing like Malik Beasley this year. That's right now. That's our go-to second guy.
Yeah.
He's got a strap on him. He's always looking to shoot the ball. But like I said, we were talking about this earlier on the show. I was a little nervous, with Jaden Ivey going out. We don't have that second guy now who can go get a bucket whenever he wants, and that's kind of what's catching up with the Pistons. They're still playing good ball. I think tonight after dropping one of the Cavs, I think they're now the 7 seed. Which if you told me that before the season, I would take that every single day. The improvement that they're making is very good. I'm a little nervous for the trade deadline to come up. I know I've heard we're in talks. We're probably going to facilitate one of the trades, help out some teams with taking on a contract. I've heard Lonzo Ball, Pat Connaughton, and some other guys, which I'm not too high on any of them, but we do need that second ball handler. Cade's playing out of his mind, but the dude can't play 40 minutes. Like he's just going to get dead. And when we need him in the fourth, that's when he's completely tired. And so we do need someone else to kind of take off a little from him and allow him to kind of ease it up and be able to play a lot more when we need him.
Yeah, he played a ton tonight. Felt like he was in the entire game.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah, because we struggle to. Well, I'll chime in here. Is that we struggle to start an offense and have a primary ball handler when he's not in the game. Like we have Sasser, he's all right, but I was watching the Magic game the other night, and there was two or three straight times on the floor where he got his pocket picked, and Orlando got transition buckets. Like when Cade's not on the floor, we struggle to like even get into any type of like half court offense. It's pretty crazy. Now the backups do a decent job with when they bring Stu in and Sasser, and like they do a pretty good job defending and getting out and trying to get easy buckets. But like if you watch them play offense without Cade, it's like a lot of it's Isaiah Stewart at the top of the key, and he's facilitating dribble handoffs because everyone's playing drop coverage on him because he's not going to shoot. So it's a lot of times it's getting to him and they're running Beasley off of him, or they're running Hardaway or Fontecchio, and they're just running offense off him and trying to get a slip or trying to get an easy shot off of the high dribble handoff for the offense. Like that's our backup. That's our second string offense without Cade. And then when Cade is in the game, the ball doesn't leave his hands until he gives it up or gets the pick and roll and makes the play. Like the ball is in his hands. He's got to be one of the higher usages in the league because the rock is in his hands when he's on a court. So I think that's where we're really missing Jaden Ivey right now. Are really missing like a ball dominant guard who's more than capable of running an offense, or just a guy who's capable of getting a bucket. Because we have great shooters, right? We have Tobias, we have Tim Hardaway, we have Malik, but like you can't give them the rock at the top of the key. Like you got to set Tim Hardaway up for his three. You got to set up Malik Beasley. You got to set up Tobias in the post, and then Duran, it basically his only offense is getting offensive rebounds and catching lob, which is great. He does great at that, but like it just puts so much stress on Cade to make every play on offense, right? It's like every play has to be a Superman type of play. So, and that's not sustainable throughout the season, right? He's not going to be able. It could lead to injury. Like it's going to lead to him gassing out in the second half. But right now, it's really fun to watch. Right, every time he has the ball, it's an option. It's a chance to make a really special play. But it's going to catch up to him, whether eventually throughout the course of the full season. So that's where we need that relief for him is so he can get out of the game. Even when he's in the game, someone to handle the ball without him.
It's like a running back in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing all the good teams, they got two tandem running backs besides the Eagles with Saquon, who's just superhuman. But like, you need another guy to be able to take the load off of Cade, so he's not in the game for 40 plus minutes. Just looking at the stats, I mean, 5 guys shooting over from 3 tonight: Tobias, Sasor, Cade, Fontecchio, and Ron Howland. Like, Cade, obviously, whatever. But like when he has an off night, you see what happens. And off night, and he still shot 9 for 26, I think, with 22 points tonight. But still, they need another guy. And if it wasn't for Malik Beasley, I think they shot 27% total tonight. If it wasn't for him, they probably the stats would have been more like 20% or below. So they definitely need another guy. And I know last episode we really talked about whether they were going to make a move or not. And I still think it's up to them depending on what they want to go with this season. I think either way, still they can make it can be good for the future. But if they make a move right now, they got to get another guy for Cade and take this load off of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go look at the standings right now, like the Bulls are in the play-in at like 19 and 26. So like essentially like they're going to make the playoffs. It's just what do they want to do with it, right? Do they want to just make the play-in and kind of scrap and see if they can get into a series and then play spoiler, take someone to 7, or like do they want to like go get a 6 seed and go win a playoff series? It's like, and they could. That's all going to depend on how aggressive they are at the deadline as far as improving this team. Or they could be super aggressive as far as improving next year's team at the deadline. So it's all going to depend on what Langdon wants to do at the deadline as far as facilitating trades, taking on contracts to get picks, or giving up some assets, right? Using our cap to acquire somebody that is not just a contract, like it's someone that can play, and preferably not Jimmy Butler because I don't know what the hell is going on over there with him. But
chaos.
Absolute chaos. I don't even know why you'd even want to touch him with a 10-foot pole if you're anybody. That is one hell of a situation. But yeah, it's all going to depend on. We're going to see what this team's going to be once we get to post deadline, which direction they go.
And I think you are. If the Suns, Bucks, and who am I missing here? And Heat. If they get in a trade, we will be a part of that. Just like you guys know, we will be a part of that. I do see us possibly giving up Fontecchio and Tim Hardaway Jr. Those could be guys that are gone at the deadline, which honestly I'm totally fine with. I'm fine with giving up those guys, just depending on what we get back. And we don't have a first-round pick this year. Our pick is to Minnesota, so not having a first-round pick sucks a little bit because this class is pretty loaded. So we could find a way to get back a first-round pick if we are going to take on a contract or something like that. But yeah, Ivy going down at this point of the season was so crucial, man. Like, we could be a totally different team, and obviously we're still in the playoffs. We're still playing really good, but
still playing well too. Yeah,
you could be looking up at that 5-4 seed.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
those teams aren't like obviously
we're still not that far out of that.
And Damian Lillard, like the Knicks are just a wagon as well. Like those top 3 seeds up in the East, they are wagons. They're going to be good, and we're not there yet, but you mess around and get a 5 seed, it's like, all right, like we can play with that. It's only going to build, and it's kind of like how the Lions got to that when we had our 9-8 season.
9-8.
Free agents were like, okay, let's go Detroit. Like they're kind of playing now. And once the Pistons kind of get back to it, it's like it opens the eyes up for free agents to be like, okay, like Detroit's becoming Detroit again, like back in the old days. Like if you just got to show that we're making progression, and more guys are going to want to come to Detroit. So.
Can we quick timeout? Why the hell do we not have a first-round pick this year?
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Minnesota's pick.
Yeah, but if that's true, we looked it up? Why did we give somebody a pick in the last 6 years? Is that even possible?
I don't
are we
know.
serious?
It could have been from a while ago. Dude, the Suns just traded for a 2031 pick.
But still, like, what was it in 19? Who did we even get from the Wolves ever?
I don't know. It could have been part of that, like a 3-way trade we've been in. Like we were in tons of those the last couple of years.
Just don't tell me it's that bum Killian Hayes coming back to bite us.
Oh my God.
No, I don't think it's
Are you looking it up, Brent?
Yeah, so we do have our pick. It's a top 13 protected in 2025.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. But if we don't get top 13, did we lose it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
It's protected.
Yeah, top 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, I know. In one of the things that I saw, Minnesota had our pick. So I don't know if it means if we're in the top 13, Minnesota gets it, or if we're in the top 13, we get it. I don't know how some of the protected stuff works.
So it's protected if we are inside of that bottom 13. So the problem is if we make the playoffs like we are right now, then we'll lose that pick.
Yeah.
Oh, so we need
Yep.
to tank.
Which
No.
that's where I think we might end up trying to get a pick back in return if we're taking on a contract.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to.
And
Well,
so
they'd probably have to leveraging Minnesota. Probably that'd probably be.
which if we end up taking on, because Minnesota's shopping Julius Randle, if we end up taking on him, that's just gonna be brutal for us.
Yeah, that's not a good fit with what we're doing at all.
And so I don't know. It'll be fun to see.
I found the trade. I found the trade that we get to pick up for Troy Weaver. Idiot. He traded this future pick in the 2020 draft to take Isaiah Stewart 16th overall.
I was gonna say it was something with a pick.
And then that pick got shipped to the Rockets. That pick got shipped to the Thunder, and then Thunder to just travel all the way down. Oh, so this pick was included in the Knicks to get Towns. Huh. That's how it trickled all the way back down. Yeah,
so
this pick traded in 2020. This 2025 pick's been traded all the way down, and it was last used by the Timberwolves or by the Knicks to get Cat. That's pretty funny.
Wait, so in that trade, did we trade a future first and we swap places with them?
Yeah, we swapped in a future first to move the 16 to take Isaiah Stewart.
Oh, what a great move. Trade away 2 first rounders to get 1. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
That's why he's unemployed.
At least we're going in the right direction right now, and it's all really going to depend on where we're at the deadline. If we go on a heater, we win 5 or 6 in a row, we could see us become aggressive.
Yeah, I actually don't think that matters. I just think like we're gonna end up with taking on a contract or two. I think the Lonzo Ball thing is probably the best option out of Pat Connaughton or Julius Randle, just because he could handle the ball a little bit. But I mean, that's just the reality of where we're at, and then you probably will look forward towards next year being the year that we kind of retool the roster and really start gearing towards pushing towards the playoffs every year for the next run. But obviously they're ahead of schedule this year. They weren't anticipating winning this many games, and so it's fantastic. Definitely would be awesome to go in and win a playoff series, earn that 6th or 5th seed and get in there and beat somebody and really, really catapult into what would then be the 2025-2026 season. But any other closing thoughts on the Pistons before we get to the even more exciting hoops talk?
I would just say even we don't even have to win a postseason this year. It's more about just getting those young guys that experience. You got to remember, our team is so young right now.
So young.
We are so young. So just getting those guys experience is going to work out so well for our future. And that's kind of all I had to say there.
Just think about it this way too. We won 14. We're already +9, and we're not even the All-Star break our win total from last year. This year is already a resounding success, and we're not even in the second half of the season yet, right?
Yeah,
so everything is only up from this point, and it's all credit to Langdon and really Tom Gores too for acknowledging how bad of a mess up last year was with Monty Williams and keeping Troy Weaver on to clean house, bring in fresh eyes, and really get this thing turned over. And then obviously shout out to Cade too for taking the big leap into stardom.
It's been fantastic.
Yes,
they play really hard and they play defense, and it's been fun to watch. But to pivot now to the other side of the spectrum in hoops, Michigan State basketball is all the way back, all the way back. This is as good as a team as we've seen since the 2020 season, which, say as you may, but that was a team that was primed to win the national championship, obviously before the shutdown. And we kind of went into a little bit of a dark ages type of thing where we haven't really seen any sort of breakthrough or success as far as the standards of the Michigan State basketball program. But this team is everything that's ever that Michigan State basketball has ever been about and more. It's defend, rebound, run, athletes. Almost frustrating at times with how the 3-point shot making happens. Everything that we've ever grown up on, this team has, almost to a fault at times, but they continue to find ways to win. We continue to get good performances from top down, guy 1 all the way through guy 10, and picking each other up. And when the guards don't have a good day, the forwards do, and when they don't, the bigs do. And it's a vintage Tom Izzo team that is absolutely primed to get back to their winning ways in the Big Ten, and hopefully win the Big Ten regular season and tournament, and then obviously make a run in March. But I'll kind of turn over to Sean, my fellow Sparty, and just kind of what are your thoughts? Kind of if you can contain the excitement a little bit, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, like you said, it's so much fun watching this team. The last 4 years have been just some dark days of what we were kind of used to growing up to with Michigan State hoops. I think the Hogard transferring kind of worked out for both teams. I think he needed to get out of here. He's over at Vandy. Vandy's ranked for the first time in like 5 or 6 years.
Dude, they're balling.
Yeah, they're having some good. They're having a successful year so far. But dude, this MSU team, it's so funny because they're god awful shooting for some reason. All the guys can shoot on the team. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
All the guys can shoot and should be above 35% from 3, all of the guys. And so our depth is one of the things I was concerned about going into this year. I didn't think we were going to have a true, starting 5 or anything like that. And I didn't know if our depth was going to be able to play, with the Big Ten hoops. But the depth is what's literally held us on this 12-game win streak. Xavier Booker's still coming along. He's getting better on defense. Cohen Carr has completely changed his game to being one of the most effective players on our team. Jace Richardson is going to be a future first rounder. And the guards, we defend and rebound. The guards are going to lock you down. I'm not worried about anyone. Jaden Akins is our alpha. He might not put up 20 points or shoot unreal, but he might be the best defender in the Big Ten.
Yeah, he's very good.
He's so good at defending, and I think last game he shot like 3 for 15, but he still comes up clutch in those times we need buckets. Trey Hallman's starting to come along too, and so I don't know, man. I'm super excited about how this is going. Izzo said last year that once we lost to I don't even know who we lost to because we've continued to lose in March the last 4 years. But after that game last year, he said that he's sick and tired of losing and not getting to the second round. And he finally started to adapt into this new college basketball and how the culture has completely shifted. He used a transfer portal. Those guys have been successful so far and just contributing in ways that they can. That's been a key part to us going on this win streak. But I'll let you know now, the win streak isn't going to continue the whole season. We are coming into a doomsday stretch of games. We're going to drop a couple, which completely fine. That happens in college basketball. Look at Michigan. They dropped the road game to Minnesota. But, I think one of the weeks we have is at Illinois, home to Purdue, at Michigan.
Yeah, it's in February.
It's coming up. We're going to lose some games. I'm not worried about it. The boys are playing good. So, I love this team. And I'm kind of happy that we don't have like a superstar on our team completely. It's just fun watching the team completely. Their chemistry is off the chart. And that's kind of all I have to say.
Yeah, I will say I disagree a little bit just because Jace Richardson is that guy. Obviously, with him being a freshman, he's not like a superstar as far as the team goes. And this team is more of a team-based, kind of unit. But Jace Richardson is that guy. And once we get towards the end of the season and towards March, like Akins has done a great job, but he's nowhere near the type of ball handler and finisher that and not at the rim, but finisher of games that Jace Richardson is going to be for this team. And I fully anticipate him being a one and done. So I'm trying to just soak it up while he's here. And I also think just from that Rutgers game when Frankie Fiddler's starting to look pretty comfortable. Like, I think he could be a guy that really starts to, turn out some productive minutes and maybe make some shots. But he does a great job of of getting to the cup and getting the free throw line. He's got a nice little mid-range game. I was a little bullish on him through the first stretch, but he's definitely starting to play a lot better. It feels like after every single game that we play, I could say that about a different guy on our team. Kohler will have a good game, or Cooper will have a good game, or Booker, or Holloman, or Jeremy Fears, who's really the unsung hero of this team, and the way that he's able to push the pace and push the tempo, which is something that AJ Hoggard could not do without turning the ball over for us. And obviously the change of scenery has helped him out, and they're doing great over there. But Jeremy Fears is the guy that we needed to run the Tommy Izzo system. And so it's been fantastic. And I definitely still have the Michigan game circled on my calendar. I can't wait for it. But as far as the Wolverines go, you other two, kind of take us away. Where are we at? Been a little inconsistent, but like we were talking about pre-show, I still think Michigan's a team that can beat anybody on any given day. I don't think they're that team that can lose to anybody. I think they're going through a little lull, but I still think that they're going to be a dangerous team. They're still one of the teams that's top 21 in offensive and defensive efficiency. So it's one of those teams who every single team that's won the national championship has been in that top 21 on both sides of the ball up until a certain point of the season, in which they're still there. So, but they're definitely a team that still scares me, and hopefully, someone, whether it's us or Michigan or Purdue or Illinois, someone from the freaking Big Ten can finally win the national championship. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 4-game lull ever since that Minnesota game. They just haven't been right. And that's what can happen with the way that this team is constructed. It's completely opposite from Michigan State as far as how it's built. Like, it's a very short rotation, right? Like, you got, especially at the guards, right? There's actually, even with Golden and Wolf, there's actually more depth in the front court. But like, Trey Donaldson's playing 35 minutes a night minimum. It's usually more, right? And when you have guys who are playing that many minutes and the rotation's so short, and the way that they can turn the ball over at times, right? It can lead to long, extended cold spells, right? Like, even the games that they've won, right? We beat Northwestern, we just barely beat Penn State today. Like, those are the bottom half Big Ten teams, and we are struggling right now. Like, we're just grinding out wins, and obviously we go into Purdue and get our freaking doors blown off, and that game was over before it started. But again, when you're not playing good ball and you run into a good Big Ten team on the road, like, and you give them possessions early and you get down early, like, you're kind of screwed, right? So, I mean, I trust in the team and the guys to get it back on track, but right now we're just in full on weather the storm mode. They just got to get back to doing what they're doing on offense, right? Being more efficient, right? Still just hanging on to the efficiency that we currently hold, right? And I saw Golden only played 17 minutes tonight. Like, I don't know what the deal is there, if something's going on. So that would be something to keep your eyes on. But yeah, I mean, it's a little sloppy. It's a little out of whack right now, but I trust them to get back. Trey McKinney, by the way, McDonald's All-American, just announced yesterday. So that's coming too.
Yeah, my big thing is the turnover battle. I mean, they have the potential to be so good, but they are so careless with the rock. It's bad. The goal for them and for every basketball team should be 10 or less turnovers. 10 or less turnovers, you win. I think the stat is like you win 70% of the games. It's something crazy like that. And just some stats, when they played Minnesota, lost turnover battle 13-6. Michigan versus Purdue 22-6.
That's ridiculous.
They beat UCLA, but they still had 16 turnovers. And tonight they only had 9, and they ended up barely winning. But that's because they got outboarded. But that's the first time they haven't allowed 10 or less turnovers since they played Xavier, November 27th. So it's been a long, cold stretch for the boys taking care of the rock, but they got to do a better job. I'm sure Dusty May is in there. He's telling them, "Hey, we got to be taking care of the rock," but that needs to be like a goal for them. Like, they have to go into every single game thinking that, because they have the potential to be so great, but they're just careless with the rock sometimes. And I get it. They're playing aggressive. You want to play their ball, but you got to take care of the rock. You shouldn't be having 22 turnovers. I'm not sure what their average is, but it's got to be around 15 a game. And that you're not going to win many basketball games, especially against good teams, turning the rock over that much. So they definitely need to take care of the ball.
Yeah, and I think that's like part of what scares me about them is because like what happens when they iron this out and then they stop playing the ball
you
over.
you can see that in the wins on.
It's like spotting the team 20 points a game. Like you're just
Yeah, you can
20 points. Like, and so like what happens when they stop doing that? Like I mean, that's why they're so dangerous.
Yeah, you can see in the wins that we've had, like when it goes right, it's like it don't matter if it's West Coast, if it's ranked, like they can blow you out, right?
Yeah,
and
they can.
If they're playing efficient on the offensive end, and Golden and Wolf are locking down the middle, like you can get ran out of the gym, and that's what a team like these streaky teams, like they kind of get caught up in the regular season, and then land in like a 5 or anywhere from like a 4 to a 7 seed in March, and they can come up and get you real quick in March. This is the perfect type of team that can be one and done in March, or you could easily see them get real hot and make a deep run. Yes. But it's all going to depend on how they're. I think now it's like I don't know if we're going to win the Big Ten. You're kind of playing for the tournament at this point, right? Because of how good some of the top end teams are, like State and Illinois and Purdue. Like I almost think you're with the schedule coming and Oregon as well. Like you're gonna have to be incredibly good, like State's been these past 12 games, like almost be flawless to get back in that mix. But they can still be preparing to play their best ball come tournament time, come Big Ten tournament time, and then wherever they land in March, right? Because like I said, is it the Ken Pom thing where it's like every 96% of the champions have in the offensive and defensive efficiency, like they are one of those that's like 10 or 12 teams, like they're one of them, right? So take that for as much as you will. What's up?
Trapezoid of success, isn't that what it's
called? Yeah, it's always that graphic. Yeah.
They got eliminated from it today because no first-year head coach has ever won it. But
oh no,
the two things I'll bring up for each team here, like we've said it with Michigan. The reason I think the turnovers are coming is because you got to remember, this is a brand new group from a transfer portal. These guys don't have that chemistry. They haven't been playing ball with each other for less than a year. That's kind of what it boils down to. They're going to get it figured out a little bit. But that is very scary going into later onto the season if you're not able to kind of get that going. But like the second thing with Michigan, like we were just saying, they really could be this. I think they are the scariest team in the Big Ten. Yeah. If they're able to figure it out with the two-headed monsters of Golden, and he was sick today. He still played through it. That's why he only played 17 minutes. I think he had like the flu or something. But with Wolf too, like they showed early in the season why they can be scary. And so if they get to that in March Madness, I'd watch out for them. I wouldn't want them to be in my bracket. I'll tell you that. And then the thing going with State, I know a lot of people have been saying we haven't played any of the top teams yet, which, okay, that's fine with me, but we've taken care of business. That's all you need to do in the Big Ten. You got to win you got to win all your home games, and you got to take care of the road games that you should. That's how you win the Big Ten. And then, going into –
that's the biggest difference between Michigan and Michigan State right now too.
Yeah, and
Michigan State taking care of their business.
With State is they're so consistent right now. You know what you're getting from them. Every single game, they're going to lock you up. That they're probably not going to shoot more than 15 threes in the game. So they're going to try and bully you in the paint. And that's the thing with Michigan, though. They're going to shoot 15 to 20 to 25 threes in that game. They're going to hope that they make about half of them, and they're going to pray that they don't turn over the ball. And so I still see, Michigan State probably splitting. It's just kind of like that, how they are each year. If Michigan State does go into Michigan and win there, I will be fully, prepared to buy my tickets to the Final Four, because I just feel every year that they're able to take care of that series, and that the way they're playing right now with Izzo, they usually go to the Final Four. Last year was the first year out of all Final Four appearances that they beat Michigan twice and didn't make it to the Final Four.
Wow. Where's that this year?
I don't know, actually. I know it's coming to Detroit soon, though.
I know. Yeah.
I will say I am so glad that we are not playing Michigan State yet, because they are playing. I'm not all in on the Michigan State, but I was sitting here with my roommate Spud, who all of them played ball with. But man, they were hooping, and that boy Cohen Carr he's a different animal.
He is.
Dude, he is a
Final Four is in
monster.
San Antonio this year. Final Four is in San Antonio.
San Antonio.
I wish.
2027, I think, is Detroit.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then I think it's coming to Indy too. Again,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it always cycles through Indy. Indy's one of their
Yeah.
like mainstay spots.
Detroit 2027. That'll be
yeah,
blast.
coming back to it all, I just think Michigan is the scarier team out of both teams because of the way they can shoot the ball, but State's going to be that consistent team, what you're going to get out of them each and every night. And so it's going to be fun to kind of see how the season boils down. Sparty isn't going to go undefeated in Big Ten. I'll tell you that now. We're going to end up losing a couple games, which you lose 4 games in the Big Ten. That's a pretty good year.
It's a great year.
You're going to
When
probably
do you guys go out west?
last year?
week. Next week.
Yep. No, when do you guys go out west? Next week.
This weekend. We
Yeah,
play
yeah,
USC
yeah.
Saturday at
I forget
4:30,
Monday.
and then we play UCLA on Tuesday at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, those are middle of the road Big Ten teams, but it'll be interesting to see how they react to it.
I would probably say that we'll probably split with the West Coast teams. I think we should, on paper, we should beat both those teams. But I just think it's one of those where it's like tomorrow they play Minnesota at home. They should take care of business of that. USC, UCLA, you split that. I'm fine with that every single day.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Izzo will have him ready to go. He'll be staring this thing in the face, and I'm sure he'll have him ready to go. But
Michigan
hard.
dominated their first West Coasters, so
It's just hard. I would say the West Coast teams have struggled more coming east than vice versa. So, which is just a weird thing. Like the teams going east the teams from the east going west have had success. The teams coming from the West Coast have not played well over here in the East. But
it's because that the East teams don't have to go over as much as the West teams have to come over to the East. Like there's only 4 teams in the West. All 12 or 14 other teams are on the eastern side of the country, right? So they're making that trip at least twice as much as the East teams are. Like if you were to play all 4 West teams, you'd probably split them 2 and 2, home and home. You'd think that's how they'd schedule it. So you'd only go out there once.
Yeah,
right.
And then State got Oregon.
If you play
at home this year,
yeah, like if let's say how many games? Let's say you play 20 games. As far as the West Coast, you play 3 at the West Coasters. They play each other, so they play all 3. But like the other 7 or 8 teams that you play, like you're going out the other way. That's at least if you do two games a week on the East on the opposite coast. That's 4 trips, right? Opposed to 1 for the Eastern teams. So.
Yeah.
I mean, we know travel from baseball, and we used to think a 2.5-hour drive was bad. I can't imagine what those cats are going through. Just constant ripping plane flights, buses, everything. So
it's hard to get ready to go, man.
The Big Ten has done a good job of setting it up. They've done Saturday games, and then they'll come back Tuesday so that they stay down there. They don't have to leave or anything. But yeah, it's been brutal for those Pac-12 teams, and I think the reason for it is because Big Ten ball is a lot better than people think, and you can't just come in here thinking you're going to be able to run it. I will say though, overall, so far in the Big Ten, the officiating has been god awful.
I think basketball officiating is just in a bad spot, man. It's bad
but
in the NBA,
the
it's
Big
bad
Ten
in
is
college.
the Big Ten is so bad in the fact that each team has been shooting double bonus by like 9 minutes left in the second half.
And whistles. There's no
that's
flow.
why we don't win in March. That's why the Big Ten has not won in March. You don't get the same foul calls in those games. And that's where you see I will guarantee you if we did like some type of data on that, the free throws from the in-season to the tournament are so beyond unreal. And the only team that would have any sort of a little bit of similarity is probably Purdue because of Edey.
Yeah.
He was getting all the freaking foul calls in the world, but I just hope a Big Ten team can win it this year. I hope it is Sparty, but I'm kind of just sick of us lighting it up in the regular season, and we all get high seeds. We all lose by the second weekend, and we'll have one team travel into the Final Four, and then they'll usually get blown out or something like that.
Yep. It's about time for a Big Ten team to break through for sure. But I think that's definitely a factor. And like for Michigan State, like I think they're the best free throw shooting team in the Big Ten. So like,
yeah, they are.
How
They're
is
the
that going to
third best in the
change? How
country.
is that going to change when you get into the NCAA tournament and you don't get nearly as many opportunities to shoot free throws when you're relying on a lot of your points to come from the line? So that's definitely a good point and something to keep track of. But yeah, I don't disagree that the SEC and the ACC play a tougher and more physical style of basketball as far as officiating goes. I don't think that they play harder or tougher than the Big Ten. I just think the game's officiated differently up here than it is down there for some reason. I don't really understand. But I would say kind of in time to pivot for our last topic where we could get everybody going again, even though it's fairly late. But the Tigers are continuing their very frustrating offseason to say the least. And I've about had it with the rumor mill. It's just does nothing but piss me off at this point. And but I just, in order for this team to move forward, the roster has to be supplemented. And if it's not with the talent that's available with Bregman and Flaherty and a couple of other names, I'm sure we'll get to here. I just don't know how, as a fan or as fans, we can be excited for this upcoming season, coming off of what was an incredible year last year. How are we supposed to get ourselves excited when we were told about that we were going to be buyers and spenders and that we were going to supplement the roster? And then here we are and we don't have anything. We got one 42-year-old right-handed pitcher for $15 million. And so there's still time. There's still plenty of time. I haven't given up hope yet. I haven't gotten to that point of where I'm beyond frustrated because we didn't do anything. But there's not much time left. And I just see, I forgot about Gleyber Torres, which is fantastic, but it's a 1-year deal and there's still more pieces to be had to supplement this roster. And I'll start by saying this again. We're not a small market team. And so that ideology needs to be changed. And the only way that it can be is for Chris Ilitch in the front office to step up and make the moves that we need to make. So kind of where are we at with them and our frustration level and kind of, what's the one move that we're hoping to see made.
Yeah, I'll kind of start before Brock because I know Brock's got a lot more knowledge on all of this. But yeah, I just, it's frustrating, man. I don't know if there's any other word to say other than frustrating. We went into last year with no expectations at all, and then the team ends up going to the was it the ALDS?
One game away from the
Yeah.
LCS. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just like, it's frustrating that our only move is that pitcher is Alex Cobb. And then obviously we love the Gleyber signing. That was a good thing. We needed that. I think it's also one of those deals where it's a prove it. And I think he is going to be good in our offense. If Bregman doesn't choose us, but we give him the money he wanted and everything, then okay, at least we tried. But what is frustrating is the fact that why didn't we just give him his money when it first started? We kept playing this kind of tag, you're it kind of game. And then it was like, oh shit, now the Astros are back into it. Now the Cubs won them. Now the Red Sox. It's just like, it's frustrating because we have the money. Just give it to him right away. Get this team settled in. Then we can go look at, oh, Jack Flaherty wants to come back. All right, buddy. Yeah, we'll take it back. Like, it's just easy stuff like that. If you open up your checkbook, dude, you get Bregman, you get Flaherty, you're looking at the AL favorite. Like that's all it is. And yes, our young guys are going to have to take that leap forward. They're going to have to, improve. But I think we've all kind of know that they're going to take a step forward. I
Yep.
think our rotation is going to be nasty. We didn't really have much last year. We got, I think Job's the number 5 prospect, so he's coming into the rotation. Like, it's just frustrating because it seems like our owner doesn't even care about winning. Like, that's what it boils down to, and especially how last year ended with Scooble, and we can't even get started on the whole Scooble extension and stuff like that. But like, it's just at the end of the day, open up your checkbook, get this city back to winning, and we're gonna have a lot of fun.
So I think what makes this all the most frustrating for me is that you see what the team did last year, where they got, the run they went on in the second half, with basically nothing of a baseball team outside of Tarek Skubal, Riley Green, and Kerry Carpenter. Like, other than that, it was literally kids younger than all of us that were making impacts at the big league level. Like, and it was a magical, fantastic run. But like, that's not something that can be repeated, and they know that, and Scott and AJ know that. But I don't know if Chris does. I don't know if Pizza Boy does, right? And what makes it the most frustrating is that you are 1 or 2 moves away that are completely sustainable and understandable to the point where you still wouldn't even be in it. If you signed Bregman and Flaherty for the money that they deserve, you still would be in might crack the top half of the league in payroll. But we are 1 or 2 moves away from legitimately being the AL favorite. In case anyone's not watched the entire offseason, I don't think a single player chose to go from the NL to the AL besides Max Fried and Luis Severino. Everyone's in the NL. They're all in the NL. The AL is more wide open than it has ever been in recent memory, at least, right? Especially our division. Like, the Guardians of their little Guardian thing where they're subtraction with addition, moving pieces around, retooling.
Yep.
The Royals are just kind of in run it back mode. The White Sox are dead. The Twins are dead. And we're just kind of hovering in La La Land. Now, I get it. Our farm system and combined with the young guys that we already have playing, it's incredible, right? But there's still guys, our top guys outside of Job are not going to be here until halfway through 2026. It's just not how it works. We're not going to see we might see McGonigal. We're not seeing Max Clark, right? The only reason we'll see McGonigal is because he's widely regarded as literally the best hitter in the minor leagues right now. So, but outside of that, man, you're 1 or 2 big moves away that are completely feasible from establishing yourself as, they're here to play in the AL. Like, they are here to paint their picture as AL favorites. Like, they can do that. Or they can just kind of float at the 83 win total on DraftKings Sportsbook and hope that everything clicks and you get the division title. Like, they could win the division as constructed right now. Right? No doubt about it. But they're not making the World Series as constructed right now. Barring major development by all of our young players, right? Everyone continuing to take, like, it would take probably a Riley Green MVP season, another Scooble Cy Young, and Kerry Carpenter to post more and probably post career highs and everything, along with Gleyber Torres having a borderline career year, and all those things to go perfectly right to make a World Series. If not, they could still win the division, absolutely. But they're going to phase out just like they did when the at-bats actually start to matter and the pressure starts to come on in the playoffs and nobody can get a hit. Nobody can get on base, right? So that's what makes it the most frustrating to me is that, one, the moves are so feasible. They're within any type of budget you'd want to set, Chris. And two, it's like you're so close. You're so close to being like the team in the AL. And it just drives you up a wall to just sit there when you could make the entire fan base ecstatic. You can sell all those brand new fancy schmancy lower level freaking heated seats or whatever they are, the brand new higher level seating that you put in there. You could sell them all out if you make 2 moves, right? If not, those are going to be pretty empty. And it's going to look like there's nobody ever in the freaking ballpark. But hey, at least you built brand new seats so that rich people could come to the games. Like, it would send a bad message if they don't.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on. I think that's how everybody feels, especially seeing the success that this team had last year.
With nothing. They had $17 million on a payroll, the playoff roster.
It was ridiculous. And just having those young guys and the guys that are coming up. And I've told you guys this. I was a ship Scooble off at the deadline guy because I know how cheap Pizza Boy is. And I was like, if we get nothing for him, I'm going to be so pissed. I want us to fork over the money for Scuba, and I want us to fork over the money for everybody else to surround him. I mean, shoot, we owe it to him. If Scuba wasn't on the bump, man, it was like we were fighting for our lives half the time. I mean, that pitching staff last year was unreal. I mean, we were winning games 1-0, 2-1, almost every single day. It felt like because we were just piecing together hits at the right time. And now you have
Kyler Montero and Brant Herter throwing CG shut pieces and no hitters in the end in September, dog. Like
and now,
no one ever heard of them.
And now you got the chance to sign a dude who can come in here, contribute to this offense, and not only contribute to the offense, but contribute to all of these young guys who has playoff experience, who has World Series experience.
It changes the entire clubhouse, is what it does. It changes the entire dynamic of the clubhouse.
Yes. And like you said, Brock, I'm not sure if Pizza Boy knows what's exactly going on, but he needs to step into the locker room and actually figure out what needs to happen and needs to be around this team, because it's like he's not even around, man. It's like he doesn't even watch the games. It's like he didn't see Comerica Park the whole time they were at home.
That place was I went a handful of times in September and to the second home playoff game. It was incredible, dude. It was absolutely incredible.
And we alluded to it last week. This city has everything on the come up. And Detroit Tigers baseball was there last year, and now we have the chance to capitalize and make it great again. And it's just like we're just kind of sitting back with cold feet.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off. I know it pisses all of us off.
It's just more frustrating because yes, last season was fantastic. Like the way we came back at the end of the year, we went to playoffs, but you look at it like one, Riley Gray needs to stay healthy. He doesn't stay healthy, that gets scary. Kerry Carpenter needs to stay healthy.
It's him and Kerry. It's
it like we were so. I feel like we're building off of the season. Like, yes, it was a complete success. We went to playoffs, we won a series, but like we were pretty damn close to, like, if we don't go on that run, like we're not even close to. We wouldn't be having any of these talks that we would be having right now. No free agents.
You're also one bad inning away from being in the ALCS.
Yeah, and that's what frustrates me the most is because we're on this kind of teeter-totter of like, oh, we could have been bad. Oh, we were almost close to going to a World Series and getting to that series of, okay, we could play to go to the World Series. And it's like, you make two moves here, you pull out your checkbook and make two moves here, you are the favorite to do that. You have the best pitcher in baseball right now. Like, you gotta win now. There's no other time to do this now, and you don't know what's gonna happen with Scooble, especially with Boris being his damn agent. Like you really, we've seen this before. We let's be real.
Let me just say this: if you thought the trade talks were bad last year, imagine if this team muddles out of the start and we're in the same spot we were last year. He's probably not going to be here, and that's not because of him. He loves the city. Everything he's done this offseason, he's gone to Pistons game, Red Wings game, just hanging out with Izzo. He loves the city. Freaking AJ and Feder and the whole pitching and the whole staff are following him to the baseball writers dinner when he's accepting his award the other day. Like, everybody loves him, the city loves him, and he loves the city. It would just be complete malpractice on our end that would lead to him leaving, right? So and with Boris, he's gonna get to free agency unless we throw the absolute money he deserves plus some, or else he's going to free agency. So if you're not going to do that, man, you better win now, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand the win now aspect of it, but in the same breath, like we have the number one farm system in the league, right?
Yeah,
So
they're set up to win in the future. Yes.
so yes, you want to win now.
And we're super young.
Yeah, but this team, it's not a win now mentality unless the moves are made, and then it accelerates that timeline, and then you can use your farm system to then continue to bolster the roster with bringing those guys into the club, and then also using prospects to acquire other major league players, right? But you're making a commitment to winning into a higher standard by making, especially the Bregman move. By making this move, you really can reinvigorate this whole fan base that is just kind of that honestly did explode and is now kind of recharging and getting ready to go all in again on this next season. Obviously it's a long season. The playoffs could be a long way away, but man, like just getting a name like Bregman, and then hopefully Flaherty, and then there's been some trade talks. There's going to be a couple more pitchers that get moved to. That's going to happen right up at the deadline of spring training, but you got to stay in the mix. You don't want to be the team that's rumored to be in everybody like the Blue Jays have been the last couple of years. I know they finally got their guy in Santander, but you got to break through and at some point make the move, right? And so
I mean,
we
Flaherty's
turn in.
practically begging to get signed.
Yeah, I know. I
He's
listened
really
to the
begging to
Fox
get signed. He went on
Sports
foul territory and was begging to get signed by anybody. So the price is coming down as well with it. Because no pitcher wants to be in camp after pitchers and catchers report.
Yeah,
it's proven. Every pitcher that
not
signs
good.
after that does not pitch well for at least a half.
Good.
Sometimes, most times, it ruins their whole year.
Yeah. So, but the amount of impact that it will make, like you said, Brock, on the clubhouse, on the locker room, on the organization, on the city, I think it just really has to be. I mean, a question of what kind of team we want to be, and do we want to be the team where we're hoping for all of our guys to work out, and then if they do, we'll be good. I mean, this year, next year, or do you want to be the team that takes the bull by the horns and establishes themselves as the cream of the crop in the American League? And that's what you can do by acquiring a player like Alex Bregman. And then I would also really like to see another arm, but that's kind of it as far as our Tigers talk. There's obviously more talk to be had, and pitchers and catchers are reporting what's going to be very, very soon here. But kind of it's fingers crossed until then, and that's the beauty and also the frustration of the Major League hot stove is that there's no timeline to it, and you don't really know what could happen and when, but it's continuing to hope for the best, and that that the organization and Chris Ilitch, they make the move to go get Bregman, and all we can do now is wait and hope for the best. So, any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
I'll also say this is that I'm still incredibly excited for the Tiger season.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
incredibly excited to see all the young guys,
100%.
Play, and I still expect, like I said, as constructed currently, I still expect a division title. I expect a division title. This pitching staff's going to be utterly dominant, and it's all about the offense just getting more consistency as far as guys posting and just taking next steps as young players. And if they do that, they will coast. Maybe not coast, but they will win a division title, hopefully by about 4 or 5 games. But it's just if we just leave the guys on the table that we've just pondered our just kick the tires on with Bregman and Flaherty, like these deals could have already happened. They've both just been sitting there waiting to get signed. Obviously, their asking prices, especially Bregman's, way too high. But we could have been the team that could have pulled our things out, and freaking established ourselves as, hey, we want you here, right? We've allowed the Astros to come back in on them. We've allowed the Cubs to sneak in on them, right? Opposed to we could have gotten it taken care of if we just maybe slightly overpaid, but I think it'd be worth it, man. I don't have a problem with overpaying for a guy that stabilizes the entire team, right? But like I said, I couldn't be more excited going in. I mean, I could be more excited. I could almost not be more excited to go into a year with the crop of guys that we have coming in. And I'm still greatly looking forward to and still have high expectations for our team.
For sure. Sean, Rollins, anything else before we wrap her up?
I mean, it's just kind of the same stuff. I really want us to get these guys. But like you were saying, I want to take back what I said of like our windows now. Like it isn't win now. Because obviously the way I mean it is the fact that we do have the best pitcher in MLB right now. Like if we're able to just get him some help on that offensive side, like that's what I mean by it's win now with that. Because if we don't extend Skubal by the end of next year and we start off bad, like you're saying, he's probably gone at the deadline. He's not going to – Boris is not going to want him to stick around. Boris is going to want him to get his money. And I like 100% believe Skubal wants to stay in Detroit. He wants to be a Tiger for life. He wants to stay here. But it's like if we get rid of Skubal, it's like it's not like we're rebuilding or anything, but it does just suck. Like Skubal literally dragged us on his back to get to that playoffs. Yeah. And so he deserves the money. I think we're one of the youngest teams in MLB, so that's awesome to see.
Yeah,
I do think
we'll be close again.
The younger guys are going to take steps, and it's just I really want them to get that Bregman and Flaherty back, and then we're good. It's just gonna be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. To wrap up, I think the word on the street is Bregman's got an offer for 6 years with a first-year opt-out. But my thing is,
I firmly believe that's us. By the way,
I think so too. And thing is
because Boston's they've proven they're not going above 4. We haven't heard anything about the Cubs, and we know Houston's offer is 6 for 156. Yeah. So I am pretty damn sure that that's our offer.
Yeah. And my thing is you need to make re-signing Skubal a priority. He's 28 years old. You get him locked up. You get Bregman for 6 years. Hopefully he stays after if that opt-out is us. Hopefully he stays for the 6 years. But then you're looking at all these prospects coming up by at the latest 3 years is what we're looking at. Then you still have 3 more years left on the Bregman deal. You still got the best pitcher in baseball from the left side, and you got Bregman, who's got 3 years left, is going to be able to get into all these new guys, and they have the experience where he can be able to bleed into these guys and really teach them. It just seems too good to be true.
Almost at this point, right? It almost is starting to feel like it was like it was never even possible.
It's all lining up for them now too. And it seems so perfect with the way that they are building this team. It's all about just putting the money out. And I'm still going to keep on calling him Pizza Boy until he forks over the damn cash.
Yeah, I think like the best way to say it is we just waited too long. Like if we would have just given him his money right away, I'm telling you, he's picking up that paper and signing with us. He wants to be with Hinch. He loves Hinch again. Like he literally is working out with one of I think it's our bullpen catcher. He hangs out with him all the time. Like
he's one of his best friends.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like we waited because we were like, oh, Houston's not going to give him the money. Boston's not going to give him the money. So let's just wait back till it drops down. And now we're back into this 4-team kind of who's going to bid more for him. And it's like, dude, if you just would have gave him his money to begin with, we would be focusing on getting either possibly Michael King, if that's an option, or getting Jack Flaherty back. And then we'd be perfect. Everyone would be so happy. Everyone would be coming to the games. Like it's just frustrating because that's all he had to do for this season, for this offseason to be a complete success and one of the biggest ones we've had in a while.
Yep. And I'll say this, like, obviously, like, we have our thoughts and, you know, we want this to happen and, you know, we're upset that it's not happening. If this happens and Bregman's on the team, like, we're good.
Oh yeah.
Like, we're straight. I'm like, let's freaking party. Like, let's make it happen. Right. Like, obviously everyone's critical because it just seems like you said, Rollins, like such an obvious move. It's such a bread and butter move that could just
it's so easy and just right in front of our faces, man.
So I believe that is also what makes it so frustrating.
Yeah.
But the second that Jeff Pass notification comes in and says Bregman going to the Tigers, if that's what happens, we're all in.
Oh, yeah.
It will be awesome. The excitement will be through the roof. We will be thrilled. But we would be remiss if we were not to express our opinion about how frustrated we are now and how even more frustrated we'd be if we let this guy, walk on by and go play for somebody else. So, well, that's gonna do it here for us for Village G episode 2. We will be back again next week, hopefully with a new Tigers third baseman, and hopefully a little bit less beaten down from the Lions taking a loss. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.